Good afternoon. This is Matt Mahoney of the Security Solutions Podcast. Thank you very much for tuning in. And today we have another amazing CEO called Nathan Waits of Black Tier Executive Protection. Welcome, Nathan. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Awesome, buddy. All right, man. Tell everybody who you are, what you do, and where you're located.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm CEO of Black Tier Executive Protection. We're based out of Florida. We work the entire state of Florida and internationally. We do specialize in executive protection, also estate security, event security, everything, and training. So we are starting to provide a lot of training now too.
Excellent. Excellent. So you're concentrating your most of your clients are in Florida?
Most of my clients are in Florida. Usually South Florida is the bigger place, around Miami area. But, clients in Tampa, we have clients up in Jacksonville. We have clients throughout the state. So wherever you are, we're there in the state of Florida. If you need to go international, we go international. I go international often. If it's usually international, it's going to be me going myself. So
Outstanding. Yeah, international is a whole nother animal, right? I mean, you got to have
it definitely is. You can't just get up and go advance something in person all the time. When it comes to
great.
that, you got to have connections there. You need to have a team
Right.
already there that's been vetted, and that's extremely important in this field is knowing people and having that connection
Absolutely.
over there.
Yeah, just having a team in Africa or London or wherever you need to go is huge. And not only that, you got to have qualified people trained and a whole nother country's got a whole nother set of rules, right?
Completely different set of rules. Like traveling, I can't take any weapons or any, defense
Totally.
yeah, stuff over to another country. I will have the people I need on speed dial. If I'm going solo, and I've done so many EP jobs solo, makes a big difference. I need a backup. I need somebody on speed dial. Hey, if I need them, bam, got you right there. You know, we need you for this time now. Get here as soon as possible, you know? So,
Totally.
and
Totally.
it's different. You can pre-advance internationally, as in, doing your Google, man, your let me pull it up. Yeah, your Google Maps. So you get your maps up and you can save that area for offline use too. You're always going to pre-advance your routes. I can pre-advance routes from here in another country. And I just use Google Maps and I will save everything for offline use in case you get out there and you lose your service. Same with Google Translate. Works all the same like that.
Huge. Huge tools that weren't even here 10 years ago, right?
No, they definitely weren't. Makes it a lot easier, uh, but the connections are the big thing.
Technology is important today. I mean, when I first came on the job back in 95, 96, I mean, we were using Thomas Brothers maps. I mean, books. You had to go out to
Yeah,
the page,
I still have one.
A3, go over to the corner, zoom it
Yeah.
in. I mean, that's old school stuff. But they didn't have computers back then. They didn't have Google. So
No,
and the tech is amazing today.
it is, and that's so funny because I was literally looking at that map the other day that I have one, still,
But you
which
still have a Thomas Brothers? Oh my gosh.
I know it's
That's
just there, you never know.
that's old school, baby. I love it.
It's very old school. I don't know if the roads are even the same.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, back then they were accurate because they had to print
They
them.
will. Right.
Today, like, my computer and my nav in my car is a CD, so it's out of date 10 years ago. So
Yeah.
roads today that are built, they're not even on my map,
Yeah. That's
you know.
You gotta find the app that works best for you. I do like Google Maps, but I use all different apps for different things, and that's very important too. And I always go with that with my principals. What apps they can just have on their phone to add that extra layer of security for them, and that's important too these days, especially with the digital era. But don't leave your digital footprint depending on who you're working with, who your principal is. That's very important, especially if they're high profile, you know?
Right. Yeah. I mean, tech's a double-edged sword, right? I mean, you can use
Yeah.
it for positive, just like AI, you can use it for positive things, but it can also be used against us.
100%. You gotta be ready for that. You gotta evolve with it, so we can
Totally.
stay ahead of that and know what to expect. Yep.
Right. I mean, I've been working with AI the last couple of years. That is just amazing. The tools that we can find. I mean, I use it primarily to find clients for people, but the uses for AI are just outstanding. Just in the security field alone, the automation, the use of analysis for
Mhm.
threats and analysis for the routes and all that. It's just ever changing.
It is, and there's still some haters out there about that, you know? They're like, "Oh, you use AI for this." You know what? You use it as a tool. How are you using it,
That's
you
right.
know? I mean, I use it as a tool, but I can double check that. You know, just open source stuff out there, use it, you know, the open source intelligence, use everything you can to mitigate any risk that there is or could be,
Totally.
you
I mean,
know?
it makes everything faster. The intel scrape that they can do today is in within seconds, minutes
Yes,
of what's going on in the world that you couldn't do that. You can be sitting there all day watching, looking at websites, looking at news clips. It's take forever. Today, the AI is just cutting the response time down to seconds.
it does. So it's so helpful, especially if you're already on a detail, because that we shown up by now that your principal, the itinerary can change in an instant. You're doing what they want to do, you know,
Right.
so you got to be
Just
ready
wants to
to
the two
change.
there.
They're going to, and it's okay. Do it. That's what we're here for, is to make sure you can do that and still be protected, you know, mitigate any of that risk, you know. So I've had some pretty weird run-ins on things, you know, but you still run through it smooth as long as you know what you're doing and you're trained correctly.
Right. So, what kind of training do you do on your job and your with your people?
So on people, what we are actually building right now, I do private, you know, I've coached MMA for many over, you know,
Awesome.
24, 25 years, and I coached guys that are signed with the UFC, PFL, one championship. But I signed pro when I was 17, been doing it since I was 8 years old. So hand-to-hand combat is very important to me. I am a black belt in jiu-jitsu. I've been striking for all my life.
Same as well.
So that to me is very important, the hand to hand. But we also do, you know, advanced pistol, you know, courses. And we use Jacksonville Sheriff's training facilities where we're building that at for theirs. We also have another Jacksonville Sheriff's training facility to do other courses like executive protection, you know, movement, everything like when it comes to that, active shooter drills, depending on what they're doing. Like I said, we mainly focus on executive protection, but we do have another branch coming up for just, you know, regular armed security. That is big contract coming up. And we're gonna have our guards, anybody that's with us, we're gonna
Mhm.
have them running through these courses for free, certify
Super.
them, you know.
That's big.
We'll use the Jacksonville Sheriff's actual MMA. They actually have a jujitsu area, but I also have
Beautiful.
access to any MMA gym I want. And I'm also building a private MMA gym inside a private facility for this specifically to where
Awesome.
you can come. And I'll also go and teach other, you know, other firms if they want somebody with my experience to come in and teach their guys. No problem, because I want everybody to do good. You know, I don't want, you know,
Beautiful.
we know the insurance issues. You know, we know the, you know, lawsuits that can come. So you need to know the use of force laws, but you need to know how to
Yes.
take that threat away as soon as possible to get your principal out of there as quick as possible and as safe as possible,
Right.
you know,
That's right.
without harming anyone.
That's right. When and why. You gotta
Exactly.
know it. You gotta be trained. I mean, I did the same thing as well, but, growing up in Long Island in New York, I wanted to be, I wanted to have my black belt before I got on the job, and I worked hard and I got it, but and I quickly found out that I was only one of the very few people trained in
Yeah.
any kind of tactics in the academy. I couldn't believe it. I was like, "Well, how am I the only guy here?" I mean, I just always it was always something I wanted to do and just wanted to be ahead and for my own self safety
Yeah.
you got to know what you're doing. So, it just gives you that confidence of I have options.
You
I
do.
have so many options rather than just clunking someone over the head, with a flashlight or punch them in the face, whatever. So many different options with the
Yes.
arts, especially jujitsu. And the system I used was it was reality based,
Yes.
right? It's not just organized, Japanese system the way they did it in the 1800s. We're talking about reality self-defense for the modern times. So, what you're talking about, training for your guys, you could run a whole full contact, simulation of situations for EP work.
Yes.
That's beautiful. Perfect.
And it's
That's the kind of
important.
training they should do it because these are the kind of scenarios you're going to run into.
There's too many people out there that don't have this type of training, and
Totally.
it's unfortunate to see it. You know, it's you just look big, you wanna look, you know, tough, mean, it's You don't wanna look like that, you wanna fit in, but you're where you are, your movement and everything matters, of course, but you need to know what to do. You need to be able to handle it quickly, and, I just see too much out there that's no, it's not right, and that's great you did that because most law enforcement, they don't go in with those belts, and the guy I'm partnering up with to get these courses going and get it really pushing hard, he's a retired law enforcement, but he's head of the security detail for the Jacksonville Jaguars, the team, the coaches. He's been around. He's done a lot. He's in the
Right.
military. Uh,
Good stuff.
and he does quite a bit, and I like having good people on my side, and good instructors too, He's the one that's gonna be doing the advanced pistol instruction. I'm the one that's gonna be doing the, hand to hand, which I have had to use, unfortunately, one time all my life when it comes to protecting somebody, I have had to go hands-on because you never know what happens when it gets too close, when that principal changes the itinerary and you go to a club or you go somewhere where there's a lot of drinking involved, you know, it happens. As long as you can get in between that threat and your principal before
Yeah,
anything
that's
happens,
right.
you handle it quickly, get your principal out of there, that's still a win. Even though
Right.
you weren't able to pre-advance that. You weren't able to advance that. It just happens. You got to be aware of everything,
Right.
even where your
And it has
principal's phone's at, you know?
you really have to tailor it for the EP field because, you can there's a lot of arts, and I've taken a lot of them, where, your response can't be punching the guy in the face.
No,
I mean,
no,
that art that technique is in every art. In boxing, you can't just sit there and go boxing. You wanna
no.
get your guy out of there.
Yeah,
You need to be evasive, you need to have tactics, angles, all sorts of things that you learn that are effective for protection without,
exactly.
you know, damaging somebody that, you're gonna be there for a while in a knockdown drag out,
You don't want
right?
that. You gotta be able to get your principal out of there. If you did have to that mean if you've had to punch somebody, they've already come to attack and you gotta do something. But most of the time with these types of individuals that will come out and do something, they don't have the training. So that's where your jujitsu or your judo comes in. Hey, finish it quick, get them out, but pay attention to your principal. Where's your principal? Did this person have friends? If you're solo, that's where it gets a little risky. Now, if you have a
Yeah,
team, it's a lot easier. You got your comms. Hey, you got something going down, got them here, but you need to keep your eyes on your principal and the threat, and put yourself in the right position to be able to do that and get them out.
super.
You
Yeah, I
know,
love it. Love it. Awesome. So what else do you do besides executive protection? Anything else?
I coach, coach MMA. I coach these
Oh,
guys. I mainly focus on specific fighters that are in fight camp. And I'll travel and work with them, get them ready for their fights during their fight camps. Do that. I ran a nonprofit for a long time. So my
interesting.
nonprofit, yeah, we'd assist the FBI, local ICAC detectives throughout the nation, and we would hunt down sex trafficking organizations and child predators throughout the country.
Wow.
And we would help set up, well, these predators and organizations would come to us and we had the connections with the FBI, depending on which area they were in, the local ICAC detectives, which area they were in, all on the same app. And we just keep chatting, set up the sting, and then
Thing
we'll
up, right?
we'll walk right into a detective with a special agent's hands, Did that for a while.
Unbelievable how many people are out there doing that.
It's bad. It's
Unbelievable. And,
it's in
it's all internet based. They're all over the internet doing it. It's the
it's e
easiest way to contact people.
and for the children, they go after the easy targets. They
Sick,
definitely
man.
go after the easiest
Sick.
targets, and it's unfortunate, and I used to do, speeches about that, I'd go people would ask me to come in and kinda give a speech on how these people work, what they do, how are they grooming, the grooming techniques, all this stuff, what the children need to look out for, and what the parents need to look out for. It's
Totally.
yeah, I did that for
Yeah,
years.
man, because we're not there. My kids that were playing games at midnight, and later, whatever. And that's where these guys hang out.
It is. It really is all over these apps, these apps, social media, games, they're all there. And there's so many of them that it feels like you didn't even put a dent in it, you know?
Right.
Oh, you just got the best thing to do is teach the parents and teach the
That's
children.
gotta be the prime time hunting ground for them, right? It's probably after midnight in these remote room, chat room, whatever kind of rooms, games,
Honestly,
wherever
it's
they are by themselves on their phone or
anytime
their
they're by
ears or
themselves
whatever,
on
right?
phone, but these people, it's anytime from my experience on what I've done, it would be imagine having 10 or 20 crazy boyfriends at the same time that get mad when you don't text them back right away. You know, so you got to train them on, hey, I'm at school. Hey, I'm with my mother. You know, like it's they get a little while and they get smart, and you got to be very, very, as you know, as a retired law enforcement, the chats, the part where I would chat, you have to be very careful with your wording. So their attorney, their defense attorney has nothing. Like, you said this, you down here, yeah, you
Yeah.
can't get anything. So you
Yeah.
got very smart with what you say and what you do.
Because they're gonna have the recording or the text of the whole conversation, so they can
100%.
just analyze it to death, every single word you
They
uttered.
do.
So it's
They
not a
do.
setup and,
Yep,
you
and
you
that's
set them
why
up so
I had
good.
special agents. I had multiple special agents on this app, the texting app, when they go from social media to texting, along with countless ICAC detectives throughout the country, so they can actually watch it live and while I'm texting, and they can also assume my identity, and they can start chatting if they want, you know? So, and
Right,
that's how it
right,
works with that, and that's
right.
just protection.
The stings are similar everywhere, right? I used to do stings with thousands of kilos of coke with cartel leaders in South America, Colombia, and Mexico. It's all talk, right? Well, yeah, I want 1,000 kilos. Okay, great. But when you start, you're not going to get locked up for just talking about it. You're going to get
No,
locked up when you start doing something about it.
yes,
Once
they
you
gotta
start
be
bringing me a sample, you start bringing me some samples of coke. Now you're a real deal. You're
yes,
not just talking about it.
yep,
Now you're going to show me a boat. You're going to show me the airplane that you're going to fly
yeah.
it in. Now you're getting locked up
Yeah, anybody can
even
say,
before
"I
you
wanna
even did it.
see," or this, but, they need to act, it
Right. Just
then
like
once
the stings for you guys when as soon as the guy walks in the door, we're collaring him. He didn't have to actually
no,
make contact with the child.
he said what he was gonna do.
He was going to do it. He showed up, right?
Yes,
That's
exactly.
the overt act, right? Same thing with the dope. They showed up and here's the drugs. Here's the whatever. Here's the what we're going to do. And
Mhm.
stings are effective.
They're very it's
They are
great.
effective
Love it.
because these people are all greedy. They're all crazy. They all want to do what they want to do. They just need opportunity.
They do, yes, and they're going to eventually, wha if that's what they're into, they eventually will, and you have to have a lot of patience for that. Sometimes it takes months,
Right.
so,
That's right.
that's another thing that I have done, I was actually on national news for that, but it was, that's
Awesome.
it was a while ago. But other than that, I do a little bit of real estate, investing in real estate, a real estate agent too, but I don't really
Okay.
on that at all, too
Yeah,
much. If it
man,
falls
I'm
about
I'm in that angle as well. I got a bunch of rentals. Always looking for another property to pick up.
yeah,
Good side income right there.
it is. When it happens, it falls my lap. It's usually I built that career up to where I have reoccurring clients that'll come in. Hey, I want this. So I just keep my license for that, basically,
Mhm.
just just for that. Otherwise, my main focus is my executive protection firm and what I'm
Nice.
building in how far I've gone from when I started.
So when did you start in this business?
I've been doing this type of work for years, but I just started this firm last year. I think I just
Okay.
might have hit about 1 year into it, but I've built it up quicker than I thought I would. But it's all word of
Great.
mouth. Already had the connections. When I was doing it before, I had the connections and they knew my background from the military, from the MMA, everything like that. They knew who I was. They know I'm not a person that's going to act on emotions. So they would always ask me, "Hey, you want to travel with me? I'd like to have you around." So I'd always do it with the connections, the few connections I had. And then
Good.
my good
Good.
buddy who's with the Jaguars, he owns Archangel. He's the one that was just like, "Why don't you start your own firm? Instead of doing this, get your B license, start your own firm." Like, you know what? You're right. I'm just gonna do it. So I went ahead, took that step,
Awesome.
and here we are. We're got multiple like throughout the state of Florida. I have multiple places, and building up teams more and more and more. And we're gonna be doing more government, like taking on government contracts too for a specific type of people I have on looking to get involved. They like the more of the government contract type of work. So I have that set up. I'm disabled veteran, so it helps. It's good. It's a little more work, to get those
Excellent.
government contracts, but There's a lot going on right now that we're building up, but I love the training too.
Awesome. Well, tell me about your quick 5 minute about of your background, of your history.
My
Because
background.
now we
Yeah,
got
of course. I started martial arts when I was 8 years old. I've always been into sports. I was always a sports
mhm,
guy. Started riding motocross when I was 6 years old, roping and riding when I was 6 years old. I was a football star. Grew up doing sports, but fighting was just where it was, MMA. So train, signed professional at 17, fighting MMA. And then I started coaching. I did like my day job on the other side of that was installing CCTV access control, security systems, firearm systems for big government facilities and estate. And I would have to, yeah, I would have to integrate these systems together on some of these for like lockdown procedures, stuff like that. And I did that for over a decade. So I know these systems in and out. And back then, integrating systems like that was really hard. And I would have to engineer ways to integrate these together. And then I would have to train the security teams on how to use it, how to react to it, everything like that. From did the FBI building in Memphis, did the the VA lockdown systems. There's so many. The Temple Israel's did all that. That was all on me for over a decade. But I got bored of doing it, and I was still coaching, and I coached some guys that were just retired team guys, and they knew I was bored, and they're like, "Why don't you?" No, I was late. I went in late. I joined when I was 26, 27, and
uh-huh.
they're like, "Why don't you go in and try to get a you know try to be a team guy?" So I went in, I got my SO contract, and then I ended up getting hurt, real bad. So I got retired out and then 100% disabled, which I'm still good. I can still coach. It's just an injury that occurred. So after 3 years, I was retired out, but in the military, I taught hand to hand combat and close quarters combat while I was in and getting retired out. I got out, started doing real estate, kept coaching MMA. I wasn't going to fight anymore. I was a little older. So I kept coaching, started doing protection, security and private protection, close protection for specific individuals. And now here we are, my business going, and it's important to me.
Awesome.
From what I've seen, it's needed. I think individuals like myself, you, and a couple of people I've seen on your podcast, we're needed out there. People with our experience
Now
and
more than ever, right?
yeah,
The
and
world's getting crazier and crazier. People
there's
are getting attacked and, CEOs are getting
they are.
taken out.
They are, and
I
we need to
mean,
know what we're doing.
never
There's too
before.
many there's too many people in this industry when really got into it and dug deep that I noticed that should not be doing it. They need to go through training. I went through LaSorso and Associates. When I went through LaSorso and Associates, their 9-day executive protection, honestly, at that point, I've already been doing it. I didn't think I was gonna I knew I was gonna learn. I love learning from everyone, and I have an open mind.
There's always
If you have
someone better
information,
out there, right? Who knows
tell
more
me.
than we do.
I wanna learn, and I'm gonna teach you any of that knowledge. But I took away from that course more than I thought I would, and the connections I made in that course, it's insane. So once you go through something like that, you make these connections. We have a roster with the Lesorso. It's, a global roster for roughly 1,000 people globally that, they've been through this course, and I know how
Right.
good the course is.
Right.
Uh, You
Yeah.
know,
It's like a brotherhood, you've been through the training.
Yes, and I wanna see all of you do good, like, let's not let anybody get hurt, harmed.
Right.
That's important to me. So, I
Right. The
and
whole the whole industry is about keeping people safe.
I'm an open-minded man, so if I just like jujitsu, I'm a black belt in jujitsu, but if somebody comes and shows me something, I'm humble. I'm gonna learn. I'm gonna listen. I'm gonna say, "Hey, that's great, you've been in a different position I've been in. You've had a different experience. What happened?
Right.
What did you do?
Show me.
How did you react to this?" 'Cause you can always learn. We're always evolving, and we need each other to evolve with.
Right. Totally. Yep. Yep. There's always something to learn.
There is.
Always somebody with more knowledge, different knowledges. I mean, just in the world of jujitsu, I came from more of a American Japanese
Yeah,
background. More, more so than Brazilian.
right,
So it's a totally different, same art, right? But all came from Japan, but different emphasis. I wasn't a ground grappler. I
right.
was always a stand on your feet, stay on your feet kind of guy, and know
Yeah,
the angles, know, and it's all about off balancing.
it is.
So we were more into that than for police moves, police
Oh, yeah.
techniques, and joint locks and all that. It's all great stuff, you know? I
Mhm.
mean, ground or standing, either way, knowledge is power.
Yeah, I actually something I look at too with individuals. I had a interview with someone not too long ago who was looking for work. He was law enforcement, prior law enforcement, former special operations, in the military. And he comes to me, he has his licenses, his Florida DEG, and he wants to be in executive protection. And I loved it because he was so humble when he came in. And his first thing was, "Hey, I've never done this before. I want to learn."
Tell me.
Not, "Hey, I know how to do this, I know how to do that," and he just me right off the bat, and I love that. Tell me, we can
Yeah,
figure
right.
it out. We will
You
teach
know,
you.
I'm not a bouncer. I bounced at this place. I bounced at that place. I can do anything.
Exactly, and there's so many out there that do that, and I see these resumes come in, and I'm going looking at social media. I will look at you, if you send me your resume, I'm looking in, and seeing some of the social medias and stuff out there, I'm going, you know Yeah, no. I'm sorry, but and you don't have the right training, it's just
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You can tell a lot from some of the social media.
you can, so you gotta keep it clean, I mean? But you get a lot of this, not unfortunately, but you can use it as a tool, like my Instagrams, it works. I've pulled clients from my Instagrams. My LinkedIn, I love my LinkedIn, I love LinkedIn, and don't underrate LinkedIn at all, because I built so many connections from LinkedIn that it's a great tool.
It's
It's a
really the
great
business networking channel.
know?
I mean, that's what it
It
is.
is, but word of mouth is obviously the best. You get word of mouth, that's where most come in and trust you,
Mhm.
trustable. So,
True. I mean, word of mouth, you're taking someone else's word, vouching for you,
yes, exactly, and
really.
I'm not gonna
So
put somebody else's name I'm not gonna give put my name on somebody else unless I know, like,
right,
"Hey," and then my
right.
past principals and principals now, they love me, so they already tell other people that they know, "Hey, you know what? Good solid person, great guy," I can
Mhm,
there's only
mhm.
one principal that I can actually talk about who loves when I talk about him, and it was a Miami detail for 5 days. It was great, and it was me solo. He's building it's Saverly Studios, great dude, amazing dude, loves it. That's all I'm gonna talk about and can't talk about, and he loves it when I bring it up. But he's about to release coming up soon of what he's been doing, and I was down in Miami. He's my main principal. You gotta have your primary, but then he flies in. Thinks it ended up being 9 people with me solo, and everything ran very smoothly. Amazing. He was so great, great to work with. But doing solo detail like that with 9 people, you gotta pay attention to a lot, and a lot of the camera
Talk
equipment,
about head on a
a lot
swivel. I mean,
you have to be prepared,
you're
My
going to be
test
swiveling
yeah.
on one, about
I'm not
nine.
communicating with anybody else. There's no other team, so he has a own driver. So I'd have things pre-texted out. I'm like, all right, watching, oh, hit send, be right there on top of it. I was surprised, like, oh, I'm glad that happened, but it all went very smooth and it was great, but that's a thing that people need to be prepared for. If they want solo and they have multiple people you're looking out for, your primary is your primary. But we have this many and you have thousands and thousands of dollars of equipment sitting out, you better be prepared to know where everyone is.
Yeah.
Not including the people you're watching out for. I had to fit in too, so I looked like I was part of the camera crew, like they didn't want no spoot, nothing like that. So they wanted me wearing my shorts, shoes, and a nice t-shirt just like they are. Obviously, I have my my little sling on, but it's obviously a med kit, but nobody else knew that. Nobody knew it was a med kit. They may have thought it was camera equipment, but
Right.
you gotta know where everything is. You gotta be prepared for stuff like that. It's not as simple as some people think. You
For sure. I mean, you were definitely undermanned in
Yeah,
that
well,
situation. Thank
it
God there was nothing happening, because if you would have had multiple threats,
bullied
you'd
me
be in
out.
trouble.
Yeah, but
But
luckily
hey,
he
but
trusted me. He knew my background,
right.
you know, but
Listen, the first thing is awareness. I mean, you just sound the alarm and get everybody out of here. Whether you
yes,
can physically touch them or not, it doesn't matter.
yeah,
You
if
see
they
it first, you see the threat, and you move everybody
you're
out.
always
Right.
watching. Yes,
Awareness is
yeah,
number one.
especially,
That's the number one
that's the
skill of
thing.
anybody in security.
That's the thing too, is the digital. Like if like their phone got taken or something, that's very important. That's insanely important. You better know where their stuff is.
Right.
You gotta know where everything is, you know? Especially like camera equipment. Something gets stolen like that, that's on me now. It's like, well, well, I'm watching you, protecting you. Oh, I didn't know you're
Right. Yeah.
it's gone. Sorry, that's $20,000 right there. You know, like
Yeah.
that's a risk, you gotta take, and you need to be prepared for anything like that. But awesome guy, amazing. Love working with him. We do, we're gonna be there's a long future between us,
Good.
and
That's what you
international.
need, right? You got to have solid clients,
Yeah. Yeah.
and return clients.
Yes. And
They love you. They're going to keep you.
yeah, exactly. And all my clients have been returning always, knock
Awesome.
on wood, but yes,
Right.
they
Right.
have. And I like it. And if I need anybody, I have connections. Like if I need another EP agent, I like it. I can, just like one of your podcasts before this, he's in Miami. Yes. Okay. I cannot contact him, if I'm not in that area. I know, I'll talk to him, and tell them what type, obviously NDAs are signed and what type of client it is, but you got to pick the right agent for that, that fits that lifestyle that can fit in with that too. That's important too. So
Right.
you got to have
Yep.
multiple out there.
So I like to ask everybody, if you had a magic wand to improve your business, like the biggest thing you needed to work on, what would that be?
That is such a tough one. A magic wand. That would be, there's so much to work on in this type of business.
Right. There is.
It would be having everybody in this industry honestly, having everybody in this industry properly trained for this,
Mm,
and
training. Totally.
not getting these celebrities that are just having somebody that looks big and not trained. I wish I could I would take that wand and make sure everybody's actually trained for this.
Yeah. Size only goes so much,
It
so
is,
far.
and my main priority is every principal's livelihood and their safety. So, I would want everybody's clients, not even my own firm, other firms' clients to be safe, you know? That's what it's all about.
Absolutely. Awesome. All right, sir. It was very good talking to you. I appreciate it.
It's good talking to you too.
All right. So tell everybody again who you are, where they can find you.
Yeah, so I'm Nathan, CEO of Black Tier Executive Protection. We are throughout the entire state of Florida, so you can find me anywhere in Florida. All you do is go to the website. I'd recommend the email address on the website or the phone number. You can give me a call, text. You could, regular text, WhatsApp, Signal. We use that quite often. I do recommend Signal quite a bit, but you can always message, call, email, get something going. But we do all of Florida and internationally. There's nowhere we don't go. So
Good thing to have, right? Good services, no range.
exactly.
All right, Nathan. Good talking to you. Thanks so
Hi.
much.
You too. I appreciate it.